A state senator's wife turns a simple traffic hearing into a viral spectacle by live-streaming the proceedings to her 50,000 followers. She expects her audience to rally against Judge Caprio, but when the judge turns the tables and addresses her camera directly, the digital applause turns into a public nightmare she never saw coming. "Say hello to the judge, everyone. He actually thinks he's going to make me pay this." Those were the first words spoken when case number 44A was called. They weren't directed at the clerk. They weren't directed at the bailiff. And they certainly weren't directed at the bench. They were spoken into a smartphone held by a woman who believed the internet was her personal jury, and that likes and shares held more weight than the gavel of a municipal court judge. Evelyn Sterling, wife of State Senator Marcus Sterling, walked into Providence Municipal Court treating the proceedings like a meet-and-greet event. She was dressed in a tailored cream suit that cost more than the bailiff's yearly salary, holding her phone up at eye level, the recording light blinking a steady, arrogant red. But what Evelyn didn't realize was that Judge Frank Caprio doesn't play to the gallery, and he certainly doesn't play for clicks. When she refused to put the phone down, claiming it was her First Amendment right to expose this corruption, she set off a chain of events that would leave her husband's office in damage control, her followers turning against her in real time, and a courtroom stunned by a ruling that proved one simple, undeniable fact. In this room, the law is the only influencer that matters. Before we witness this incredible moment of accountability, take a look at the subscribe button. If you believe that justice shouldn't care about your follower count and that respect is mandatory no matter who you're married to, hit that button right now. Let us know in the comments where you're watching from, because this story about digital arrogance meeting analog justice is going to resonate with everyone who is tired of seeing people live for the gram instead of living by the rules. It's a Tuesday morning in Providence. The docket is full, the air is heavy, and Evelyn Sterling is about to learn that you can't edit a live feed when reality hits back. Judge Frank Caprio sits at the bench adjusting his glasses. He has already heard 20 cases this morning, struggling students, single mothers, elderly veterans. He has shown mercy where it was needed and firmness where it was required. He looks down at the file in front of him. "Next case," he says, his voice gravelly but patient. Inspector Quinn stands by the railing, his posture stiffening slightly. He's seen a lot in this courtroom, but even he looks confused by what's walking down the aisle. Evelyn Sterling doesn't walk, she performs. She enters the well of the court with her phone held high, panning the camera across the room, capturing the faces of people waiting for their hearings. You can hear her muttering to the screen. "Look at this place, guys, it's absolutely dingy. This is where our tax dollars go, and there he is, the man of the hour." She turns the lens toward Judge Caprio. Caprio pauses. He sets his pen down slowly. The scratching sound of writing stops. The courtroom goes quiet, save for the faint hum of the air conditioning and the tapping of Evelyn's acrylic nails on her screen. "Ma'am," Caprio says, his tone even, "you are in a court of law. Put the phone away." Evelyn laughs. It's a sharp, performative sound. "I'm live streaming, Judge. I have 50,000 people watching right now. They want to see how the system treats the wife of a public servant." She looks at her screen, reading a comment. User Justice for Ev says, "Don't let him bully you, girl. Don't worry, I won't." Her attorney, a man named Mr. Reynolds who looks like he hasn't slept in a week, rushes to her side. He is sweating. He knows exactly who she is, and more importantly, he knows who her husband is. He whispers frantically, "Mrs. Sterling, please put the device down. This isn't the place." "Stop touching me, Charles," she snaps, pulling her arm away, keeping the camera steady on the judge. "I want them to see this. I want the voters to see this." Judge Caprio leans back. He interlaces his fingers. He doesn't raise his voice. He doesn't bang the gavel. He just watches her with a look of profound disappointment. "Inspector Quinn," Caprio says softly, "is there a reason this defendant is recording these proceedings?" "She claims it's for her safety, Your Honor," Quinn replies, though his tone suggests he knows that's nonsense. "Safety?" Caprio repeats. He looks at Evelyn. "Ma'am, the proceedings are recorded by the court. There is a stenographer. There are security cameras. Your safety is not at risk here. Your dignity, however, is currently hanging by a thread. I will ask you one more time. Lower the phone, or you will be held in contempt before we even read the charges." Evelyn rolls her eyes, a gesture exaggerated for her audience. "Fine," she says, lowering the phone to her chest but clearly leaving the camera lens exposed, still broadcasting. But the audio is staying on. "The people have a right to hear." "Mr. Reynolds," Caprio addresses the lawyer, "is your client ready to proceed, or does she need a moment to finish her broadcast?" "We are ready, Your Honor," Reynolds says quickly, wiping his forehead with a handkerchief. "My client pleads not guilty to all charges." "Not guilty," Caprio picks up the file. "Let's see what we have here." The atmosphere in the room shifts. Usually a traffic ticket is mundane: speeding, parking, expired tags. But as Caprio reads, his eyebrows furrow. Charged with parking in a designated emergency zone, Caprio reads, blocking a fire hydrant, failure to obey a traffic officer, and resisting citation. He looks up over his glasses. Mrs. Sterling, on the morning of October 14th, you parked your Range Rover directly in front of a hydrant on Thayer Street. When Officer Miller asked you to move because there was an active alarm at the bakery next door, the report says you told him. Let me read this correctly. Caprio squints at the report, ensuring he gets the quote right. You told him, do you know who I sleep next to? This car stays where it is until I get my latte. A ripple of murmurs goes through the courtroom. People in the back benches exchange looks. Even the clerk looks up, eyes wide. Evelyn scoffed. She looked down at her phone, checking the chat. That is taken completely out of context, she says, addressing the phone more than the judge. I told him I was in a rush. I had a charity gala to plan. The alarm was false anyway. There was no fire. There was no fire, Caprio repeats slowly. So, in your expertise as a gala planner, you determined the fire alarm was false and therefore the hydrant was unnecessary. I have eyes, Judge, there was no smoke. And the officer, Caprio asks, did he agree with your assessment? He was rude, Evelyn says, waving a hand dismissively. He tapped on my window like I was a criminal. I told him my husband is Senator Sterling and that he should show some respect. He wrote the ticket anyway. That's why I'm here. It's harassment, pure and simple. Mr. Reynolds closes his eyes. He knows this is going off the rails. Your Honor, he interjects, trying to salvage the situation. My client was under a great deal of stress that morning. The senator's schedule is very demanding, and she manages much of his public appearance itinerary. She acted out of haste, not malice. Haste, Caprio muses, Mr. Reynolds, haste is doing 40 in a 35. Haste is parking at a meter and forgetting to put a quarter in. Looking a police officer in the eye and telling him your husband's title gives you the right to block emergency equipment isn't haste. It's entitlement. Evelyn bristles. She lifts the phone up again, aiming it right at Caprio. Did you hear that, guys? He just called me entitled. This is what I'm talking about, the bias in this system. Mrs. Sterling, Caprio warns, his voice dropping an octave. I told you to put that phone away. And I told you the public is watching, she shouts back. Look at the hearts, look at the support. They know you're just a local judge trying to make a name for yourself by bullying a senator's wife. The tension in the room is palpable. The bailiff takes a step forward. This is the moment where most judges would order the defendant removed. Handcuffs, a night in the cells, but Judge Caprio does something different. He smiles. You say the public is watching? Caprio asks. 52,000 now, Evelyn says smugly. Good, Caprio says, bring the phone here. Evelyn freezes, excuse me. Bring the phone to the bench. If you want the public to be part of this hearing, let's involve them. Mr. Reynolds, bring the device here. Evelyn hesitates. She looks at her lawyer. Reynolds looks at the judge. He nods at his client. Go ahead, Mrs. Sterling. She walks up to the bench, a triumphant smirk on her face. She thinks she's won. She thinks the judge is going to apologize to her audience. She places the phone on the high wooden railing, the camera facing out toward the courtroom, the screen facing the judge. Hello, everyone, Caprio says, looking not at the camera but at the screen where the comments are flying by. I'm Judge Frank Caprio. Mrs. Sterling tells me you're all very concerned about justice today. He watches the chat scroll. Let's see what the people are saying, Caprio narrates. User Mike T says she blocked a hydrant. My house burned down because of people like that. Evelyn's smile falters. Silence, absolute heavy silence. On the phone screen, the hearts have stopped. The angry emojis are flooding in. The viewer count is climbing, but the sentiment has shifted entirely. That doesn't sound like stress to me, Caprio says quietly. That sounds like a threat to a man who puts on a uniform every day to keep this city safe. A man who makes a fraction of what that suit you're wearing costs. Evelyn grabs the phone. I'm ending the stream. No, Caprio commands. You wanted them to watch, let them watch the ruling. Suddenly, the doors at the back of the courtroom swing open. A tall man in a dark suit enters, flanked by two aides. It's Senator Marcus Sterling. He looks furious, not at the judge, at his wife. He walks briskly down the aisle, ignoring the spectators. Your Honor, the senator says, his voice booming. I apologize for the interruption. Senator, Caprio nods respectfully. We were just discussing your wife's parking habits. Evelyn looks relieved. Marcus, tell him who we are. Senator Sterling ignores her. He walks up to the railing, stands beside the lawyer, and looks at the judge. Then he looks at the phone, which is still broadcasting. I am aware of who we are, Evelyn, the senator says coldly. And I am aware that you are currently broadcasting this to my constituents. He turns to the judge. Your Honor, I was watching the stream from my office. I came down here immediately. To defend her, Caprio asks. To apologize, the senator says. The courtroom gasps. Evelyn's jaw drops. Marcus. I have spent 20 years serving this community, the senator continues, his voice shaking with suppressed anger. I have fought for funding for the fire department. I have fought for our police force. To hear my own family treating them with such disdain, it is humiliated, it is unacceptable. He turns to his wife. Turn that phone off, Evelyn. She stares at him, shocked. Her hand trembles as she taps the screen. The live stream ends. The room feels instantly smaller, more intimate, and much more dangerous for her. Your Honor, the senator says, whatever penalty the law prescribes, my wife will pay it. There will be no favors. There will be no calls made. If she needs to do community service, she will do it. If she needs to pay a fine, it will come out of her personal account, not ours. Judge Caprio watches the dynamic. He sees a husband trying to save his career, yes, but he also sees a man genuinely embarrassed by the arrogance on display. Thank you, Senator, Caprio says. It takes a big man to stand up for principles over family loyalty in a public forum, but the decision is mine. Judge Caprio turns his chair to face Evelyn directly. She looks small now. The armor of the internet is gone. The shield of her husband is gone. She is just a defendant. Mrs. Sterling, I have a choice here. I could fine you the maximum. $500 for the parking, $500 for the obstruction. Another 1,000 for the behavior. You could write a check right now and walk out of here. Evelyn reaches for her purse. I can pay it, I'll pay it right now. Put your checkbook away, Caprio snaps. That's the problem. You think the checkbook is the solution to everything. You think because you can afford the fine, the law is just a price tag. It's not a price tag, it's a standard of conduct. He picks up the file again. Money means nothing to you. So I'm not going to punish you with money. I'm going to punish you with time, and I'm going to punish you with perspective. He leans forward. I am ordering you to complete 100 hours of community service, but not just anywhere. I am ordering you to serve those hours at the Providence Fire Department's administrative office. Evelyn pales. The fire department. Yes, you will file their reports. You will clean their station. You will make coffee for the men and women whose lives you endangered by blocking that hydrant. You will look them in the eye every single day for 100 hours. And maybe, just maybe, you will learn that their time is just as valuable as yours. Your Honor, Mr. Reynolds starts, that is a significant amount of time. Would you prefer 10 days in the ACI Adult Correctional Institutions? Caprio asks sharply. Because for resisting an officer and obstructing emergency services, I can sign that order right now. Reynolds sits down immediately. Community service is acceptable, Your Honor. Caprio isn't finished, and one more thing, Mrs. Sterling, you like cameras, you like broadcasting your life. He points to the court camera. You will issue a public apology to Officer Miller. You will post it on that same account you used to try and humiliate him. You will leave it up for 30 days. And if I hear that you have taken it down, or if I hear that you have mocked this court again, I will haul you back in here for a revocation hearing, and you will bring a toothbrush because you won't be going home. Evelyn looks at her husband. The senator nods, his face stone. I understand, she whispers. I can't hear you, Caprio says. I understand, Your Honor, she says, her voice cracking. Good, dismissed. Evelyn Sterling turns from the bench. She doesn't strut, she doesn't pan the room. She walks quickly, head down, clutching her phone against her chest like a guilty secret. The senator follows her, stopping briefly to shake Inspector Quinn's hand. The courtroom remains quiet for a long moment after the doors close. Judge Caprio sighs, taking a sip of water. He looks at Inspector Quinn. Quinn, did you see the comments on that video? I saw a few, Judge. They restored my faith a little bit, Caprio says, a small smile returning to his face. People know right from wrong. Sometimes they just need to be reminded. Next case, the clerk calls out. Conclusion. What we saw today wasn't just a traffic hearing. It was a collision between two worlds. The world of social media, where influence is currency and narcissism is rewarded, and the real world, where actions have consequences and nobody is above the law. Evelyn Sterling thought she could weaponize her audience against the justice system. She thought that being a senator's wife gave her a VIP pass to break the rules. But she forgot that in Judge Caprio's courtroom, the only status that matters is the truth. She walked in looking for clout. She walked out with a lesson in humility. It's a reminder to all of us. When you hold a phone up to record the world, make sure you're ready for the world to look back at you. Because sometimes the lens captures more than you intended. It captures your character. We want to hear from you. Do you think the punishment fit the crime? Should Judge Caprio have been harsher, or was the public humiliation enough? And what would you have done if you were the senator? Let us know in the comments below. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. We bring you these stories